Approaching entrepreneurs. All right, this is deal sourcing, segment 4, approaching entrepreneurship. The value proposition, the management's view of the market, their strategy for 5 years, etc. So the next stage is going to be the follow-up meeting. And they should not be anything like this. This is a shot, of course, of the Shark Tank group. So prior to a follow-up meeting with an entrepreneur, you're going to have a concrete thesis on the pros and cons of the business and the management team and their market and the technology. So you're going to want to set up a follow-up meeting that's to the phone call, and that's probably going to last between 1 and 2 hours. You'll probably ask the entrepreneur to do a more detailed business plan presentation, but you want to spend that meeting validating your thesis and focus your discussion around the pending concerns and questions that your team has. You want to think about the management team, your human resource issues, market dynamics, but really drill in. Again, be nice here. Again, because you're an ambassador, try to drill into the financial projections and some of the foundations of their assumptions. We're not going to go into a lot more detail now because we have diligence as a different segment, but I do want you to be prepared to have your first calls and perhaps even to be able to have some meetings with entrepreneurs. Okay, so let's hear from our guests about what kind of advice they have for us for approaching entrepreneurs.
So, Nancy, just to follow up on, if you get down to the most granular level of activity, I think in a fund is how you start to interact with the individual entrepreneur, and if you can imagine dealing with an entrepreneur who's never heard of you before, and we've talked a little bit about how you get an entrepreneur's attention, but when you think of like really specific strategies. How much time should you be expecting this entrepreneur to spend with you if you set up a phone call to talk about their deal? How much should you push them in that original call? Should you be really, super critical? Should you say everything? Should you stroke their ego? How do you approach that first call, Nancy?
Well, everyone has their own style, and we tend to want someone to be in a meeting or on a phone call with our whole team, because then people can play different roles. But certainly when you're just meeting someone, as in life, you want to be polite, you want to be respectful, you want to be enthusiastic in terms of recognizing that this person is taking a big risk in his or her life to start a company and is in a vulnerable spot. I mean, we've been there. Fundraising for funds is not that different than fundraising for companies.
Yes.
And so, you definitely want to be welcoming and supportive, but also show that you have some experience and you can be analytical. You can understand some of the challenges in the business in that sort of embryonic state that it's at that time. So I think it's kind of a mix of being friendly, but also showing that you're serious and there's a certain amount of pattern recognition in our business, and once you've seen hundreds of deals, you're able to very quickly get at some of the points of vulnerability and sort of start talking about those.
Yeah. So even in that first conversation.
Deals, and we have so many meetings that we need to kind of penetrate and get at the key issues. And I think that's, I think our business it intimidates some people that you get these rapid fire questions so early, but that's kind of how we get our throughput. Now I try to do it in a way that's, as I say, that's not off-putting and not arrogant, but it is important to kind of get to the heart of the matter early.